On today's episode, I'm pleased to welcome a friend and colleague in the restoration industry, Ed Cross. He's with the law offices of Edward H. Cross. Same last name as me, but we are not related as far as we know. Hi,
Be
Ed.
careful to point that out, that he's not related to me. Thank you for the disclaimer.
Well, Ed, welcome to the program. Pleased to have you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. You're doing a great job. I want to commend you on all the information that you've spread. You're serving a vital role for the industry. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you publicly for making a valiant effort to try to get John Isaacson to engage in a serious interview.
It's a tough thing to do. I don't know, but we're trying.
Keep trying, and eventually you'll wear him down.
That John Isaacson, that's a whole nother topic. We'll get into another time, but good point. Ed, we're going to talk about an interesting point that involves the RIA, and it's one of their position statements on the cost of doing business. Tell us about that.
So, Jeff, there's been a lot of problems that restorers have faced in recent years where they get emails from insurance adjusters telling them to remove certain items from their estimates or their invoices on grounds that they are the cost of doing business. And the RIA has responded to this with position statements. And for those who aren't familiar with the position statements, the function of the position statements is to give restorers some tools that they can use to help confront some of the more serious, complicated, or confusing challenges that they face in running their businesses. And the RIA took the very bold move years ago when it formed the Advocacy and Government Affairs Committee to assemble teams of experts who would compare notes and formulate strategies and arguments that would then be shared with the industry. And that's what you have with this long series of position statements that we have out there. And they are intended for restorers to use in their discussions with insurance adjusters or third-party consultants or customers about issues like pricing, for example. And one of the challenges that they've really suffered from is insurance companies refusing to pay things under this concept that this is the cost of doing business and you shouldn't be charging for that. And a very interesting thing happened to me this year. I engaged in a lot of insurance bad faith litigation on behalf of restoration companies. And I took the depositions of many different adjusters and of many different property claims managers. And these adjusters tried to justify what they were doing on grounds that a restorer should not be paid for the cost of doing business. But some of them had an incredible difficulty explaining what the cost of doing business is. And they were totally unable to point to anything in the insurance policy that allowed the insurance company to refuse to pay any item on grounds that it constitutes the cost of doing business. So first thing that we wanted to make clear to the whole world out there is that no insurance policy contains an exclusion for the cost of doing business. Let's be clear on this point as well. The contract of insurance controls. They are allowed to deny things based on exclusions that are written into the contract of insurance. Insurance adjusters and insurance companies are not allowed to manufacture exclusions. They're not allowed to dream up reasons not to pay things. They need reasons. And if they don't have reasons, they could be liable for insurance bad faith. So the RIA put out the position statement on this particular issue. What do you do when an insurance adjuster comes forward and says, I'm not going to pay something because that is the cost of doing business? And the outcome of a claim needs to be determined by the insurance policy and the law that interprets it. It's the role of the adjuster to assess losses, determine coverage, and pay covered claims, right? And not to step beyond that and start trying to manipulate the terms of the policy. Contractors can and should set their own prices. In fact, some of the publishers of standardized pricing software tell contractors you should be creating your own prices and your own price methods. The insurance company is responsible for paying the fair market value of the work. The insurance policy does not give the insurance company the right to determine on its own what the fair market value is. The market determines what the fair market value is. And now restorers have an opportunity to respond in a cogent manner with a position statement that has been vetted, reviewed, and carefully analyzed and edited by a big team of experts from many different segments of the restoration industry. Keep in mind that some of these position statements do not apply to work that's being done on a preferred vendor network or under a TPA program. When you sign up for one of those programs, you agree to certain guidelines, and if the guideline says they're not going to pay for the cost of doing business, and you sign a contract agreeing to comply with those guidelines, you're bound by that. So this position statement does not necessarily apply to those types of situations. So that's the basic summary about the cost of doing business. It's a fake thing, and the scary part of it is that when you talk to claims managers or vice presidents of claims, they've never heard of this. They don't even know what it is, and they're unaware that their adjusters down in the trenches are doing it. And we need to have better communication between the senior leadership of the insurance companies and the adjusters who are in the streets, in the trenches handling these claims.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some made up stuff going on that is being addressed by RIA. So thank you for that explanation. Makes sense. An important topic for sure. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Jeff.